Hello, my name is Aaron Bastian. I'm a specialist in early California and American art for Bonham's Auctioneers, and I have the great pleasure of being the auctioneer at California Cool on a number of occasions now. And I'm excited to be participating again this year, albeit in a different way. Normally, I'm at the podium speaking to a room full of art patrons, a few inebriated people, some artists, hanger on, a lot of people in search of a good party. And we usually have an auction breakout in the middle of it. Today, I am speaking to you from my dining room table. Before we take a look at some of my favorite in the auction, I will ask you to do something I ask you to do every year, and that is to support the Laguna Art Museum. Now, I know you're saying to yourself that I can do that by buying some art, and that is certainly true, and we're going to talk about some art in a little bit, but you can also make a significant impact by raising your paddle and making a direct donation. How do I do that, Aaron? I'm glad you asked. Please go to lagunaartmuseum.org/auction. You scroll down and you click the Raise Your Paddle button to make a donation of your choice. If you'd like, you can pull out your phone and do it right now while I'm talking, or you can pause me. Go ahead. I'll wait. And take a look. While you are there, please do check out the virtual tours by Dr. Malcolm Warner and Dr. Julia Friedman. So with the housekeeping out of the way, let's move on to talk about the art. We'll start with some of my favorites in no particular order. One of the works I was really excited to talk about today is the John Mason. This is lot 172, relief wall plate. It's a ceramic work. Because you can't see it in person, I'm going to tell you it's 16.5 by 16.5 inches, and it's about 2 inches deep. Mason is truly an innovator within the field of ceramics. He is one of a few key artists in California that pushed ceramics into notions of abstract expressionism. And that happened through exploration of technique, also scale. He also worked with Peter Volkus, one of the most famous practitioners in ceramics as well, again, in California. And I think that's really important. It's kind of a local work with truly national recognition. This particular work has a lot of things that show us what the ceramic medium can do. You get these incredible layers of color and a randomness that the medium lends itself to, but at the same time, you have these hard edge, geometric, fairly precise external shape. I really like this work. I think it speaks to almost like a geological passage of time. Now, his record price at auction is $50,000. That happened a few years ago. This particular piece, you can start the bidding right now at $15,000. I'm excited to talk about this work by Leta Albuquerque. I think one of the stars of the show. This is Untitled from 2019, and it is 12 karat gold on resin and pigment on panel. And again, because you can't see it, I'll tell you it's 24 by 24 inches, so 2 feet by 2 feet for those of us who think in feet. Gold is, I think, an incredibly delicate material to work with, but it's also truly permanent, right? It doesn't corrode. Leta's work is already in the collection of the Museum of Contemporary Art, Los Angeles, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, the Whitney Museum of American Art, and in a few days, I hope it will join one of your collections as well. The next work I wanted to talk about is the Alex Cohen. This is lot number 123, Mackay from 2012. And again, you're not seeing it in person, so it may be hard to appreciate. This work is 6 feet tall and 5.5 feet wide. It has a highly finished surface, which would make sense for an artist associated with what we call the finish fetish movement. So think hot rods with pinstriping, graphics on surfboards under layers and layers and layers of resin, giving you that really deep surface. And that is the kind of effect that Cohenberg is going for and achieving in these works. They're highly polished. He himself speaks to this about his work, that is about the aesthetics that come from culture in Southern California. A really interesting work, and again, large scale. It's going to take a lot of wall, but I think have a lot of presence on that wall. This work that I want to talk about is the Scott Haywood. It's lot number 150. It's entitled Arupa Blue White Canvas 2017, and it is acrylic on canvas, and these are shaped canvas panels. It's a little bigger than 3 feet by 3 feet. And the thing that you want to appreciate with is that these individual blocks of colors are individual panels. So it stands off the wall, but the wall itself also becomes incorporated into the work by the nature of these monochromatic panels. I personally find this work very austere, but not in a bad way. It's kind of contemplative. I think a lovely work. The two blocks in the middle really set off tension, a subtle tension, with the blue areas to the right and the left. The bidding on this can start today at $9,000. This work is by Sandra Jones Campbell, lot 119. It's entitled 3 Bars Fully Charged, No Service from 2020. It's acrylic on canvas. It's 2 feet tall and 4 feet wide. I'm sure many of you are already familiar with Sandra's work, as she has participated in the Laguna Beach Art Festival for the last 30 years. I really like this painting. To me, it speaks to, well, the voyeuristic kind of pleasure you can take from a crowd. And it's something that I haven't done for some time now, and I look forward to doing it again. And I hope you do too. This is a work by Laurie Brown. It's lot 117, entitled Las Vegas Periphery, the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, 2003. It's a light jet print. It's about 16.5 inches tall, 36 inches wide, and about 2 inches deep. As someone who works with historic art, I'm always interested in the landscape. Brown herself says she conceives of the landscape as kind of like an archive of both the exterior and the interior, the seen and the unseen. And to me, Las Vegas is all about the seen and the unseen. And this particular photo, when I look at it, it feels like the urban part of the landscape has sort of sprung whole cloth from the landscape. It's sort of appeared as if by magic. I think the reflection within the pool on the construction site just adds to that kind of sense of surreal, which I think all of us have experienced if you've been in Vegas. This is an artwork by Sherry Carver, lot 157. It's entitled The Sweet Need to Dream. It's from 2020. It's 30 by 24 inches. And I wanted everybody to take a closer look at it because I think it's a very successful marriage of the techniques that the artist is using with the narrative that the artist wants to talk about. In this case, it's about urbanity, living with lots of people, and some of the consequences of that, like alienation and anonymity. So we have photos of people here with text superimposed on their image. Then there's oil paint for the color, and then there's a resin as well. And I think all of these layers create the crowd, but it's a set of individuals within the crowd. And I think this is something that all of us have experienced at one time or another. The last work I wanted to talk to you all about is the Matthewlston. This is lot 201, entitled Barrier, Roger, and Angelica from 2016. It's an archival pigment print, and it is just about 8 feet tall and a little less than 4 feet wide. So quite a large work. The artist, the story goes, was discovered by Andy Warhol, and he worked for many decades with various publications, including Warhol's Interview Magazine, Rolling Stone, Vanity Fair, and he's very famous for these portraits that he did. This work is very interesting as it explores a portion of a bronze by Antoine Barrier, a famous 19th century French sculptor. And what Ralston's done is just pulled one aspect of that, which is Angelica, and she is gilded in many versions of that bronze. And he has dressed the model appropriately and painted her gold. And I think it's a very modern interpretation of this small aspect of this historic object, and it makes for something that is very arresting. For those of you who don't know, there is going to be a show of Matthew Ralston's work this summer at the Laguna Art Museum. And this exact image will be one of the central parts of the show. This work is out of an edition of 5. This is number 2. His work is already in the collection of the National Portrait Gallery and LACMA, and for $7,500, the starting bid, it can hopefully join one of your collections. Thank you so much for suffering through some of my favorites, or I'll say my commentary on some of my favorites. And while it is presumptuous, I am going to thank you right now for your generous donation to the paddle race. If you have not done so yet, please go to the lagunaartmuseum.org/auction, scroll down and click Raise Your Paddle button to make a donation. And I thank you again for supporting the Laguna Art Museum, and I can't wait to see you next year.